Hello everyone. As you have been told, my name is Hannah. Thank you for having me here, and also thanks for the post on LinkedIn. My views have been going up, so that's really good news for me. But today I am actually going to be talking to you all about Mettle, and about how we actually run product at Mettle, and building a product that our customers love. We're getting to the stage where we're actually really getting a good product market fit and engagement is going up. So I'm going to tell you a bit more about how we have done that. But just as a quick intro, so I'm a product manager at Mettle. I've been there for about a year and a couple of months. First, I was in a mission team which was focusing on open banking, PSD2, which is all about actually enabling us to get more connections with other third parties and offer much more robust solutions to our customers. And now I'm focusing on, the team's called Best Current Account, which is basically looking after payments, transactions, all the kind of core banking features, and trying to improve our engagement of our customers with the app. So today the plan is cover a little bit about background on Mettle, what we are, what we do, and actually then take you through how we actually do product management. So how do the product team actually take an idea right through to a feature that is released to customers and actually adding value. And then finally looking at how we're actually structured and our ways of working. To be honest, so I'm a consultant working for Capco. I've worked in a few places. At Mettle is the best I've seen so far. It's very impressive. So take you through some of that. So Mettle, what is it? So Mettle is essentially Natwest's response to industry changes. After the financial crash, obviously there's been a few really big changes to the banking industry in general. First one of which is changing customer expectations. So as we know, you can order anything you want in the world and you'll get it tomorrow. It's very impressive these days, and that's changed massively. And it's not just in our kind of other areas like shopping and getting your takeaway or whatever. That's being kind of pushed throughout other industries, including banking, which has typically been so traditional, and the banks have always had the kind of control and the power. Now that's being passed over to consumers, and we're demanding a lot more from our banks. New regulations, so these days it's a lot easier for new competitors to come into the market. That's the result of a load of new regulations coming in to actually increase competition in the market and give more power to the consumer, so that we're not kind of held to the banks' monopoly, as we might say. And then finally, new technology. So with things like open banking and the rise of APIs, their use across all of the different industries, we're able to offer such more robust solutions. You can connect everything you do. You don't now have to have an app for your banking and an app for this and an app for that. You can have everything in one place. So these are the kind of things that are actually forcing the bigger banks to actually innovate and change the way they're doing things to capture more of the market, or even just maintain what they have. So Natwest very cleverly has thought, well, if we're going to retain some of the customer base that we already have, and in Mettle's case, that's specifically based on small businesses, how are we going to do that? We're going to have to actually launch more digital, innovative propositions, and really go after kind of some of the other models we're seeing, like Spotify or whatever it may be, like real tech players. We have to do the same thing ourselves. So the mission of Mettle is to give businesses the freedom to actually run themselves. So a lot of the time, small business owners, and we're talking about sole traders and limited companies here, they're like your average individual. There might even be some of them in the room. Even if you're a contractor, you're running essentially your own business. And these people make up a huge portion of the UK's GDP. But they're often the people that they work so hard, and it's really, really difficult, because whilst banking has typically kind of focused really on either pure retail or kind of bigger corporations, there's kind of been a gap in the last few years of how do actually small business owners do the banking and other services that they need to run their business effectively. They're very short on time, these people, and they just they need to free up their time to focus on growing their business and achieving their goals. So we kind of had a problem statement somewhere that Mettle wanted to be. We wanted to be serving small business owners and retaining like our market share and even growing that. How did we actually though go on to build a product with features that help our customers and that they will love and keep coming back to use? This is where Jobs to be Done comes in. I'm sure loads of you have heard of this. Clayton Christensen is the person to read if you want to know more about it. But Jobs to be Done are basically a task or action that somebody wants to complete, basically. And this is basically, if I am a consumer and let's say I'm a small business owner, suddenly I'm feeling like really anxious about how much money I'm getting in. I don't actually know how well my business is doing. I don't know how much money I'm going to have in the next few months. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my taxes when the tax return comes around. And what you do is take those initial feelings and actually map out where does the customer want to be in an ideal state. And so the customer wants to relax. They want to know what payments are going to be coming in. They want to be able to be sure and feel comfortable that they're going to be able to pay their taxes when the tax return comes round. And so what Jobs to be Done is all about is understanding what's the current state, what's the ideal state, and actually saying what's the task in the middle of those states that makes the user or the customer able to get to that future state where they want to be. And so in this case, let's say, in that example that I've just used, a lot of the problem for small business owners is actually knowing and about when they're going to get paid and actually getting paid, like physically. So let's say, I've got my customers, I've invoiced them and they're not paying. So it's like, these are the tasks that we need to focus on. Help me get paid, help me send an invoice to my clients, help me actually know when those invoices are due. And those are the kind of jobs to be done that we really focus in on, and actually using Jobs to be Done at the heart of all the product decisions and taking an idea through to a feature is really key, and it's a key way to actually keep your customer at the heart of what you're actually doing. And so we're always referring back to these. So in the initial days of Mettle, which is probably about 2.5, 3 years ago, I suppose, the initial research was done, which basically 88 interviews and 800 surveys were done of people within that small business owner customer type. And what we did was actually identify the key jobs to be done. We came up with about 44 customer needs. What you do then, and this is a model you can use like across any kind of proposition work you're doing, is you'll map those custom needs against two axes. So one is the importance of that job to be done. So like, how vital is it that I actually achieve that job to be done? And then the other is, what is your satisfaction level with the options available to you in the market currently? So as you can see, like in the top right-hand quadrant, that's the area where people are really dissatisfied at the options they have to use today, and the most important things that they need to do. And this is where we actually focus our kind of energy on building the solutions to those tasks that they want to complete. Just going to show you a short video of what Mettle is all about. Hopefully the sound comes on. Yeah. hopefully that's given you a bit of insight into what the product is today. Obviously, we're always adding to that. But yeah, so what I really want to show you then is, obviously you've seen a load of what the app does, the features that we've actually released, but how did we actually get to those features and get those out to market in the first place? And so this is where we're going to talk about the product management workflow that we follow in Mettle. So typically it can pretty much be explained in a 6-step process. We do follow quite a structured way of working when it comes to doing products. So our product managers will be following these 6 steps. So first we'll start out at everyone in the company should be understanding what is the mission, the vision, and the business goals. These obviously, I guess some places you work, these will be set at the top level and then they're just kind of communicated out. I think personally one of the key things to actually building like successful products is for everyone to be on the same page about those first kind of objectives of the business. So typically in Mettle we are very good and focused on communicating those downwards and upwards. So mission, we've had ours there around actually freeing up people's time so they can actually build their business. And the business goals might be, this year we're really going to focus on actually just acquiring customers or increasing engagement or increasing product market fit. That's just basically up to the business and what stage in the journey you're at. And then based on that, what we do is set OKRs, so objectives and key results. So at the moment, for example, Mettle might be focused on engagement as one of their key figures. So, okay, we've got new customers in, that's brilliant, acquisitions going up, but actually, is everyone that's acquiring the product using it? Because otherwise we're actually just wasting marketing spend, right? So we would have OKRs that actually say, okay, by the end of the quarter, we want to see 60% of all onboarded customers engaged, and we'll kind of define in a measurable way what engaged means. And so it kind of just really enforces the fact that data is such a key part of what we do. If you don't have data to actually track your kind of success metrics, then you need to work on that and put them in place before you can really go forward. Based on the OKRs, we have roadmap plans, I suppose. So each team will set their team OKRs, and they should be aligned to the company ones. So whatever kind of missions and features your team will be working on, you should be setting yourself some measurable targets that will actually drive what you actually put through your roadmap. So you should always be looking back to those. The next stage then is research, discovery, and design. This is probably the bit that takes, I guess, the most effort. So let's say there's a job to be done to help me get paid, but it's like, okay, well, what do I actually need to build to meet that job to be done? So what we'll do is actually go and actually research with our customers. We'll go and talk to them. We'll send surveys. We'll get them into the office and literally just like ask them questions. Or we might go out to wherever they're working and just shadow them and actually really understand, okay, within that job to be done, what are the really detailed needs? How are they currently like meeting those needs, and what could be improved? So we'll go through a kind of cycle of research and discovery, and then once we think we've got some ideas, so okay, help me get paid, I think our customers want to be able to raise invoices and share them with clients, let's say. We'll then design that, test that with customers, and when we think we've got a solution that actually meets those, we'll put that into the next stage, which is the kind of hypotheses. So if this feature is a success, what would actually indicate that has been successful? So if I release the invoicing feature, I would expect to see however like 60% of users using that function, for example. So you'll set some kind of metrics that you want to track against, so that when you actually go out to market with this feature, you can actually go back and say, was that a successful feature? Did I do my job right? Obviously, then we move into develop and testing. There's so many ways of doing this, but I think we probably all know, I won't go into detail there. Just QAing what we've done. And then finally, we'll put it out to market. So when we've actually got a feature live, we'd usually say, okay, depending what the feature is, I'm going to wait, say, a month, and then I'm going to actually look at how has this been used. So recently I've worked on a app store review. So you get a prompt in the app and you go, hey, do you like it? Rate us on the app store. And then I've said, okay, well, if I'm releasing that, I really want to see like the numbers of reviews coming from that prompt go up to prove that it was the right thing to do. So after a month, I'll be looking back at those numbers and actually checking like both front end and back end data. Are we seeing those kind of expected results? If we are, fantastic. Like we've got the hypothesis right, and we've proved that we've kind of understood the job to be done. But then also, there's always kind of iterations. So that might be your MVP release, but you might have further iterations that you'll release to market in kind of increments to actually then improve like more on that job to be done. And sometimes it will be a failure, and you just have to go back to stage 3 and actually go back to the customer and say, I got this wrong, and why is that? Be prepared to make changes and retest. Yeah, never get too attached. Fail fast. Cool. Structuring for success. So structure and ways of working is like one of the most key things you kind of have to get right. And it's really hard, actually. I think Mettle have managed to do this very well. I've been really impressed myself. But I guess the way we work facilitates successful product development. If people aren't working well together and we don't have the right ways of working, we're never going to put a good product out to market. The way we actually structure ourselves in Mettle is like this. So we have cross-functional teams that basically are solving customer and business problems. So what you can see on the slides, these kind of verticals on the left are our mission teams, which basically are all focused on jobs to be done of customers. And also you'll probably have some team OKRs, which might be, in a growth team, for example, you'd be focused on acquisition and actually getting people in. Whereas if you're on some of the kind of best biz accounts, you're more focused on engaging, so getting the engagement up of your customers. Then we have some non-product mission teams, and these are the people that kind of like, they don't have all the glory, but they're like super important. Marketing and acquisition, run the bank, and customer ops. So whenever we're actually developing features, when we're going through that kind of initial discovery phase, we're not just thinking about, oh, what's the feature that we're going to deliver? It's what's the actual end-to-end journey here? How am I actually going to tell customers that this functionality is available, for example? Run the bank, like compliance touches like all aspects of any banking app. You've got to know whether what you're releasing is actually breaking any kind of compliance regulation, that kind of thing. And then customer ops is obviously the support that comes with those new features. So, you might release something, forget to put in your FAQs and any kind of process around supporting customers when things go wrong, and then you can imagine things would go pretty downhill. So those all get considered when we're designing the end-to-end journey and the feature itself. And then across these teams, we have guilds. So we will have some engineering guilds, so front end, back end. These people are embedded in the actual mission teams. I know this is done differently in different places. Some of them just have central teams looking at tech. I think this way does work very well because it means you get a good balance between product and business objectives, and also then just the kind of tech performance, maintenance side of things. So those engineering guilds will sit across the mission teams, but they'll also have their own kind of ways of working, meetups, where they're actually discussing, okay, how can we improve the app? How can we use new microservices or whatever it may be to actually improve the way we do things? And the same with the product guild. So that product management workflow that I showed you is kind of a result of the product management guild working together and actually building our ways of working. Same goes for design. And then we have things like delivery, ops, and platform. So they're looking after the kind of day-to-day, like delivery guilds, scrum masters, how do we get stuff done, etc. This works very well for us. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all for structuring. Different things can work for different people. The tooling that we use, though, is kind of pretty, is at the heart of how we actually do things so quickly and rapidly. Last week they talked about taking G Suite away from us, and it was like meltdown. It just wouldn't work. So I think tools like Slack we use all the time. We're always on Slack. It's just so easy. Like we don't use anything on our own computers. Everything's on the drive and accessible to all, and it's key for communication. Here's the team at the last social. It was good fun. We use agile techniques. I mean, it goes without saying, but agile's not as easy as it sounds sometimes. So we try to be customer and data-led. So obviously keeping the customer at the heart of everything we do. We're really turning our focus this year on actually making sure we've got really good data in place to understand our customers and go to like the most minute level of detail to understand trends and patterns, but also just talking to customers. So we do a lot of customer research already, but we're really improving like the cadence in which we do that. Highly structured, yes. So we do have quite a, I guess, not a rigid structure, but we do structure the way we do things, like that workflow, where we'll take things through peer review and we'll have meetings to actually make sure we're following that way of working. However, that's really good in actually allowing on a lower level in the teams us to have the autonomy to do the things the way we want to. So for example, some of our mission teams will work in Kanban, some will do Scrum, but as long as we're all working to a 6-week plan where we're all aligned on the roadmap, it works well. Ceremonies, standard, pretty much the same as everywhere else. I guess the key things here are not only are we doing the kind of generic Scrum type ceremonies, but there's also like really important cultural things here, like Thursday drinks or like brown bags. And those cultural things are like some of the key drivers of success. So literally last week we had an office move actually, and like the most important things to people, like where are we going to do drinks? Where's the free beer? Because we moved from a WeWork. So, and that like management are literally like, oh my God, we need to sort this out. Like, so it goes to show culture's important.